Hi, my name's Andy Edwards. We're producing this video for you today to show you how to get the maximum out of an NSFA photography of soccer. What we want you to do is really maximise your photography for the day and enjoy the day. So the best thing to do is get here in plenty of time, make sure you're wearing a high visibility jacket that makes you stand out as an official photographer, and introduce yourselves to the event organiser. The rest of this video will go through how to position yourselves, how to set your camera up, and really how to get the maximum out of the day. So as well as introducing myself to the event organiser, I've also gone around and made myself known to the parents that are here, that we're the official photographers for the day. You should do the same, just to make sure everyone's aware of who you are and why you're there. So let's talk now about camera setup for the day. I've got my camera here with me. We've got training videos online about how to set up your camera for shooting sports action. But today we're just going to run through the basics of that. I've got my camera, I've got a 70 to 200mm lens. The reason for that is some of the action is happening quite a long way away, so I need a good zoom lens. What I'll do now is show you the exact camera settings that I would set up for this camera. Okay, so let's go through camera settings for the day. Now, of course, you'll have your own preferred camera settings and you'll have to adjust your camera settings to the conditions of the day. But let's go through some settings that I would recommend and how you should perhaps start off the day before you adjust settings. So I've got my camera set on full manual mode. The reason for that is that I want to make sure I have a couple of settings fixed on the camera. The first one that I want to fix is shutter speed, and I want to fix that at 1/800th of a second. The reason for that is so that I freeze the action of the player and the action of the ball during the game. The next setting is the f-stop number, and that will depend on this number will depend on the lens that you have attached to the camera. This lens is an f2.8 lens, so I want to set this number as low as possible. The reason for that is that I want to have the blurriest background that I can possibly get, whilst keeping the subject in complete focus. The next setting that I have is the ISO. I want the ISO to be set to automatic. The reason for that is that I want the camera to choose what ISO is necessary to properly expose the photo that it's going to take. I don't want to have to set this ISO value all the time. I want to leave it on automatic so that wherever I point the camera, it will set the appropriate ISO for the two settings that I have up here. The next setting that I want to make is JPEG. So I set my camera to shoot in JPEG, large quality all the time for sports shooting. The next setting is AI Servo. And what I want AI Servo to do is I want it to be on automatic, and that's the AI Servo. What that does is it makes sure that just before the shutter release is released each time, that the camera is focused on the subject in the focus points. So I want AI Servo, that's a very good one for sports photography. The next one is high-speed shutter release. High-speed shutter release is really important so that we capture multiple shots as we keep the shutter held down. That's super important so that we capture multiple shots of the action, because you never know which shot is the winning shot, and we would always upload 2 or 3 shots of a particular action sequence. So let's talk about positioning of us as the photographers on different types of shots. The first type of positioning that we can have is standing, and we can use that for really moving around the soccer pitch really easily, really fast, and being able to get different angles for the shots. The second type of shot that we can get is kneeling down. It's a really good brace position. You can get your camera nice and steady, and you can start to get a feel of the pitch. It just gives a slightly different angle to the types of shots. You'll find that the player seems bigger in the shot than when you're sort of on the same level as them. You're slightly lower than them. The pitch comes into play a little bit, and you'll find that the different angle of this kind of shot is very good for the eye. The third type of shot that I like to take is the lying down shot. Now, you obviously need to be careful when you're lying down because your maneuverability is not as good as standing up, so you need to be as safe as possible. But taking these kind of shots, specifically of youngsters doing soccer, is really good. You really get down to the kids' level The ball comes into play in these kind of shots quite dramatically, and you really get a very nice depth of field on the green grass or the surface that you're on as well. So do try these 3 different angles for shots, and you'll be amazed how differently they come out in the camera. So let's look at lighting and background. It's really important that we have as much light as we possibly can on the player, and that we use the natural light of the day to light up the player. You really don't want to be shooting into the sun so that that person is in shadow for you. So to really think about the lighting. The second thing to think about is the background of the shot. Now over here we've got quite a nice background, and with our f-stop being 2.8, a lot of that will be blurry, so it will really bring the player out. However, if we turn around slightly, you can see that this background wouldn't be quite as good for us. It's got a crane in the way, it's got hoarding up there which has nothing to do with the event itself. So really think about having a nice quality background in your shots. Okay, so there's 3 main locations on the soccer pitch that I like to take photos from. One is along the sideline, mainly towards the middle of the field, and this is to capture players really running across the field of view, running fast, making plays up and down the pitch. It's a nice angle. The second one is along the goal line, and that's really players making the plays, coming straight towards you, running towards you with the ball, getting them face on, making plays into the goal area. The third one is actually from behind the goal itself. Those are obviously plays that are close into the goal, people trying to score. The facial expressions are really good, of both not scoring and obviously scoring as well, the elation of scoring. You need to be careful with those shots though, that you're focused on the player themselves and not on the goal itself, not on the strings of the goal or anything like that. So those are the 3 main locations that I like to try from. Obviously try the different positions that you have as a camera angle in those locations as well.